So last week we talked about manifesting the number one thing that you need to do in order to manifest those things that you desire in your life. And I really hope that some of the things that I shared, hey Jason, I hope that some of the things that I shared really resonated with you. And as you went through the week, you started to think about some of the things that I said and how you can begin to be very mindful about what it is that you want to manifest in this year coming. This is our time to really, really push those things out. There's so many of us that are stagnant. We have dreams in our bellies. We have things that we want to do. And it's really about getting out of our way so that we can manifest those things that we want in life. So I hope that I gave you something that really planted a seed and that you'll continue to let that settle inside of you and really think about what is it that I want to call forward? Because in January, I'm going to be talking about vision boards and more tools. So I'm excited. There's just a whole lot of content that I really want to be able to share with you as we are journeying together. So one of the things I talked about last week when we met, we talked about what is it that I need to do? When I talked about that number one thing that you have to do, it's believing in yourself. Right? It's really knowing and understanding that you do have the power, that you can, achieve your goals, and that you deserve it. More importantly, that we're not repelling things and blessings from our lives because inside we really have a self-esteem that makes us feel as though, I love you too, Jay Mardries, thank you for watching, babe, that we have a self-esteem that makes us feel like we don't deserve to dream big. We don't deserve the things that we really, really desire. And that's where we want to hang our hat today. That's what I really, really want to be able to talk to you guys about. So I said that what we're going to be talking about is how do you take that first step, right? What first step do you need to take on this inward journey of building your self-esteem, self-love, all that good stuff? So just to give you a little bit of background for those of you who didn't join me last week, my story is that I have alopecia. I'm not going to repeat the whole thing all over again, but basically it's hair loss. So people see me today, they see that I'm bald and they just assume that I'm from Wakanda, which I am. Don't get it twisted, okay? But that is not why I'm bald, okay? So it's because I have the autoimmune condition, alopecia areata. And and I talk about, that when I was 25 years old, this is what happened. This is when I was diagnosed with it. And of course, it was very devastating. But the beautiful thing about this traumatic experience is all that I gained as a result of it. And sometimes the things that we go through in our lives, they're so challenging. And we're just like, now what? God, why you thought that was a good idea? Like, what in the world could God really be trying to teach me in some mess like this? But you just keep on living. And hindsight is 2020, because later on you look back and then you could see the value, all the things that you learned, all the strength that you gained as a result of having gone through that experience. And so, but I remember, I never ever forget, and I never want people to think that where I am today as this bald beauty queen and the work that I'm doing today is how it started. Because the truth is the low self-esteem for me, the insecurity, all of that stuff. When I meet women who are wearing wigs, who are suffering with alopecia, and they're looking at me like I'm gold, like, wow, you just out here being bald unapologetically. I'm like, glory to God, because trust and believe I was the same woman who was crying, who was depressed, who was hiding under a wig for years. I mean, I've been there and I've done that. And it's just about really you got to get to a place within inside of yourself where you really, really want to be free. When you really get sick and tired of things being the way that they are, and then you're really ready to make a change, even if that means coming out of your comfort zone. I remember one time, years ago, I went to Carowinds. Shout out, let me get a thumbs up for those of you who've been to Carowinds or you like Carowinds like I do, right? So just give me a little thumbs up in the comment section. So I went to Carowinds with my kids. This was years ago when I was still wearing wigs, right? So it was picture it. It was a hot summer day. and probably like 90 degrees. So the kids, they were smaller. They were so excited. They wanted to go on one of those slip and slide rides that you just like, you go into the tube and then you slide into the water. And so they're all excited, but I've got this hot wig on. Okay. So first of all, I got an attitude because it's hot. I got this wig on and I'm not really trying to go on no roller coasters. I don't do roller coasters like that anyway, but I'm not really trying to have my wig fall off and be totally embarrassed, right? So, and I especially wanted to get on the ride that it looked so cool where it's like, the water was just cold and it's so hot and the kids were gonna go on and they're just like, come on, Mom, go on the ride with me. And I'm just like, I can't, because there is no way I can hold on to my wig and go through this tube and still come out with this wig on my head. And it would be like floating in the water. It would just be way too embarrassing to chance it. So I'm like, I'm sorry, baby. Mom is going to hold the bags, but I am not getting on that ride. So I remember while we were online, I remember seeing this young lady, and she was a teenager, and she had alopecia universalis just like me. She was completely bald, right? And she was online. She must have been like 16 years old. Now, mind you, I'm good and grown. But I'm looking at this teenager. She is like completely bald, no makeup, nothing. She did not care. She was online with her friends. And they're just all excited, like, yeah, we're about to get on this ride. And then I'm looking at her like, wow, she is just out here. Like, she was my inspiration. I was just like, I want to be free, bruh. I want to be like her, like just out here, not caring about who's looking at me, not caring about who might be talking about me. I want to have that kind of freedom that I want to get on this ride with my kids. I want to be able to be out here having a good time, not worried about this wig or all of these other things. And I remember feeling like, God, please give me the strength, give me the courage, give me the audacity to be able to be like her one day. And I remember going to her and saying, excuse me. And I was all, embarrassed and being all incognito. And I was like, excuse me. And she's like, yeah. I was like, listen, I just want you to know that I got alopecia too. And she's just like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I got it too. She's just like, all right. Like, why are you telling me this? I'm like, well, I just want you to know that you're an inspiration to me. I want you to know that I'm gonna be like you when I grow up. I know you like 16, but I'm trying to be like you when I grow up. And she was just like, okay. I mean, she didn't really have much to offer to me, just like, wow. But I just wanted to tell her, like, I just think you're beautiful. I just think that, your freedom and your power to just be able to stand in that experience was awesome. So I just want you to know, for all my alopecia sisters and those that are still hiding with wigs and the ones that come to me and they're just like, wow, Sandra, I understand how that feels. I understand exactly how that feels. And I know for a fact that if I could come from that place of feeling like I could never be that free, and to the place now where I can be an advocate and I can happily speak to women and strangers and don't worry about who's staring at me and just educate people if they ask me questions. No, I do not have cancer. However, I have an autoimmune condition. I mean, there's a way that you manage it, but I never thought that I could. But if I could, you can too. Now, the beautiful thing about that story is that even though my specific variable is alopecia, everybody's got something that they're dealing with. So it's a universal truth. It's all about freedom. It's whatever it is that you feel that you need to be free from, whatever it is that you need a breakthrough from, whatever it is that you're in bondage with. It's about getting to be free. That's the growth that we want to get to in our lives. And so that's what I really want to talk about. What impedes on us being able to be free? What is it that is stopping us? So one of the things that I did when I started to advocate and won the pageant and started to go out and talk to women and educate people about this condition, I wrote a book, right? Some of you may have it, some of you may know about it, but this is my book. It's called My Crown and Glory. It's Not About the Hair. And I say it's not about the hair because as women, aren't we told that it is all about the hair? I mean, the Bible itself says your hair is your crown and glory. So it's a whole lot to consider and contemplate when you're going through an experience of losing your hair. Of what does that mean if my hair is supposed to be everything? So I really had to get to the point where I could redefine what that means for me, right? But in this book, I'm not just talking about hair loss. It's a wonderful book for anybody who's going through hair loss. However, it's just about self-esteem. And in it, I'm sharing the 6 fundamental principles that I used that will heal emotional wounds and build healthy self-esteem. And I want to talk about the very first one today. That is the first step that I want to share with you. Okay? So that first step. The first step to becoming someone who has a high self-esteem, loving yourself, accepting yourself, is that it's not sexy. It is not something that is funsies. It's not even anything that's external. It's the real grunt work of self-esteem. And that very first principle that I teach that I want to share with you is healing the inner child. Healing the inner child. Now, I know when I say that, a lot of people are just like, what? What are you talking about? But just hear me out. Just listen to me. Tonight we're doing a little bit of a deeper work. We're really going to get inside of our hearts and inside of our minds. Healing the inner child. What do I mean by that? Well, in order for me to accept what was going on in the outside, it was really a challenge for me to say, you know what, I got to go deeper. It's not just about what's going on physically. I had to realize that I was struggling with self-esteem and issues of insecurity and all of that long before I lost my hair. I had issues with self-esteem way when I was a child. And so I had to go back in my mind. I had to go back into my experience and in my memory. And I had to uncover what are the things that I've been through. And here's the thing, it's just like the Sankofa bird. They talk about if you want to know where you're going, you first have to look back to where you've been, right? And that's really how this process of this inner journey really works, is that you have to be able to self-assess. You have to be brave enough, courageous enough to look yourself in the mirror and say, what is going on inside of you? Nobody can do that level of work for you. It's something that you have to do. And the reality is that a lot of us has suffered a lot of trauma in our lives. Everybody's been through something, but have we healed from it? That's really the question. Are there secrets that we never told? Are there experiences that we never really processed? We just kind of held it within our body, somewhere subconsciously within our minds. I always think about the quote by Dr. Maya Angelou when she says, people may not remember what you did. They may not remember what you said, but they'll always remember the way you made them feel. The way you made them feel. Now that's a positive. That could be positive, but that can also be negative. The way you made them feel. And when you think about the things that you've been through as a child, the messaging that you've received, maybe some of you have been bullied. Maybe you've had those kind of experiences, things that have chipped away at your self-esteem. Maybe some of you were not affirmed as a child. Maybe there's been some bad behavior that you have seen by the adults in your life. Maybe they have been neglectful. Maybe they have not been there. The story goes on and on and on. But the question is, how has that impacted you and how you're showing up and moving through your life today? And you cannot deny that it's, many people think like, oh, well, that was a long time ago. Hunty, if you have not healed from that, if you are still holding that even subconsciously, it is still impacting the way you are moving through life. So that's the part that we really have to be intentional about cleaning up, getting stronger, and it causes us to go back. And when I think about, when you lost something as a child, or you lose something even today, let's take it, we lose something today, just like in the promo video I did. I forgot what I was going to say while I was in the middle of my sentence. We lose things all the time. So what do? When you lose something today, you're home, you will say, for example, you're ready to leave, go to work, you can't find your keys. Dang it, where did I put my keys? What's the first thing that you do? Hey, LaShawn, I see you. What do you do when you lose something? Somebody tell me. You can write it in. I know it kind of goes slow, but what do you do when you lose something and you're standing there in your living room thinking, where did I put my keys? What are you going to do? Can anybody tell me? I'm going to keep going because this thing goes so slow. You retract your steps. You retract your steps. So you go back. Okay, so I'm in my room. Where was I? I was in my room. I was here. I was putting on my lotion. I was doing this. I was that. Let me see. Where was it? And then where you find it someplace stupid. You find like your keys in your underwear drawer. What was I even thinking? Right? Exactly. Start looking, retract. Thank you, Jason. It goes so slow. But thank you. That's exactly right. We start looking. We got to go back, trace your steps. And so this healing the inner child is about tracing your steps throughout your life, emotionally, mentally. Where was I? What happened? Where did I lose a part of myself? Where did I get broken and it never got healed? I need to go there. And I need to find it. Because the truth is, even though we are all adulting, we have responsibilities, we got things we got to do. Sometimes we have to, saying, I know I'm not crazy, right? Exactly, LaFonda. I'll just be like, you know what? Somebody help me. But, we all have things that we have to do, but don't forget that we all have, man or woman, I don't care how old you are, there is an inner child that still is within us. And sometimes we lose the essence of ourselves. That inner child is that innocence. It's that part of us that can still get on the floor and play with the child today. It's the part, it's our imaginative. That's where the freedom lies, when it was really, really okay just to be you, where you didn't have to worry, you weren't bogged down with everything. It's the part that can play with the 2-year-old and get up there and act silly and make faces and be that and connect with that part of yourself. Don't take yourself that serious. We have to still stay connected to that inner child. And sometimes our inner child is hurting. And here's the thing. We can't go back in time and change anything that has happened. But we do have the power through the Holy Spirit and through the power of our minds to be able to go back and reconcile some things. There is a peace that can still happen. There's a resolve. There's a healing that is available for you. And I'm telling you, there is no way that you can be free. There's no way that you can really move into the level of greatness and achieve all of the things that you really want to achieve. You may be able to do that externally and have certain levels of success, but I'm talking about good success. I'm talking about peace of your mind, peace of your heart. I'm not talking, there's plenty of people that make so much money. Right? This message is for you. Amen. I need to hear this. Thank you, LaShawn. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to LaShawn. Hey, Katrina. There are so many people that have so much success, but yet they're miserable. We hear about it on the news all the time. We think that they have all the workings of success just from looking from the outside looking in. However, they're the same ones that are drinking and drugging and committing suicide. So that's not what I'm talking about. Yes, you can accomplish things. I'm talking about peace of mind. I'm talking about joy. I'm talking about the kind, of love for yourself. Woo. The kind of love for yourself and the kind of love for humanity that we all need to get to, right? Sometimes some of the things that we go through are so traumatic that we don't want to tell the truth. We don't want to go back into that dark place. We don't want to talk about it, and we try to move past it, but we can't. And sometimes those things are so deep that the only way to uproot it is to get some help. So I'm really, really big on mental health and taking care of ourselves and our mental health. Because sometimes, even the strong people that you think, you don't know that they're hurting and that they're broken until it's too late. I'll share this with you. When I went through alopecia areata and I had the spots, and at that time I was married and I wasn't really happy in my marriage. I wasn't happy with my job. It was just so many things that were just not good. And as a black woman, I come from a very strong lineage of strong black women. And so the expectation is for me to be a strong black woman. And so, but what do you do when you feel like the bottom is about to drop out? And you keep telling people, I'm not doing okay. I can't keep doing this. I'm hurting. I'm broken. And everybody around you, this assumes that you're so strong. You can handle it. You got this. But you know that you can't, that you need some help. And I got to that point when I first was dealing with alopecia. And for the first time, that was the first time. I've been a couple of times since, but that was the first time I went to counseling. I found me a psychotherapist. I'm like, you know what? I love my inner circle. I love my family and all of that. However, y'all can't fill me on what I'm talking about. Nobody's been through this alopecia. You don't know what it's like to feel the way I'm feeling. I'm tired of y'all telling me to be strong because I don't want to hear that. I want to go someplace where I could take off my superwoman cape. You feel me? So I found a psychotherapist. You felt the same way, LaShawn, right? It's a very serious thing. So I found a psychotherapist, and it was an old white man. I didn't care who it was. I talked to a homeless person on the street at that point. Somebody just tell me something. So I went to him, and let me tell you something. I sat there and I would talk to him for an hour. And really and truly, he really just listened to me. But let me tell you why it was so powerful for me. He did not have an expectation for me to be a strong black woman. He made it okay for me to let my heart break. He made it okay. He validated. I can understand how that would be painful for you. I can understand why this is heavy and this is a lot to carry. And he just listened. And for that hour, I didn't have to put a face on for nobody. I didn't have to try to be strong to make other people feel comfortable. I could lay out, I could cry, I could do whatever I needed to do to deal with the reality of what it is that I was really feeling without him being disappointed in the fact that I could not handle it in that moment. Just that alone. Just let me know that it's okay to be human. Let me know that it's okay, that all of this stuff is starting to come up for me. All of these memories, this experience is challenging everything that I believed in. And I'm going to have to find a different way at coming at this if I'm going to get over it. Please help me find a different way. But that was like the breaking point. That was the wonderful moment where it's like you have to decide that maybe the thoughts you've been thinking no longer serve you. Maybe it's time for you to rewrite the narrative. Maybe it is time for you to acknowledge that maybe mom and them, they were wrong about some things. And because you are an adult, you have the opportunity to decide for yourself, even if nobody else agrees. It's your life. And you can do this the way you want to do it. Maybe it's time that you divorce yourself from some of those thoughts and beliefs that you was told to believe and start to develop your own understanding of things. And it's really okay. And being unapologetic about that because it's your path and everybody has their own path. And even the people that love you the most, sometimes they don't even understand. When it's time to heal that inner child. And there's a way that you can do that. And I know it might be a little bit much for some people. But I want you to just be open to hear and consider a different way. It's a tool of visualization. You've been there. Those wounds are still there. That's right, Jason. You're absolutely right. It's a tool that we can use. It's the power of visualization, right? So picture yourself as this little child. Picture yourself. Yeah, that's right. Jason says, right? Far too many people are miserable because they are living based on others, how others feel. Yes. That's exactly right. And that's what we want to come against. That's how we're going to get free because we're not worried about what everybody else is doing. We're healing what's going on inside of us, and we're finding our own voice. We're finding our own expression, and we're really getting strong enough and courageous enough to be really okay with that. So in this exercise of visualization, I want you to imagine yourself as a little child. Just think in your mind yourself as this little child, but see this child as a child that is hurting. Because I always talk to women and I call and say, my queen sisters, my queen sisters. But here's the thing, queen sister. You cannot step into the power of moving through the world as a queen until you can address and heal and reconcile with the little princess that still lives inside of you. How many broken women do we see walking around today, whether it's on reality TV or where have you? And as a mother of two daughters myself, 21 and 18 years old, the best way that I can teach them how to become a woman is by being the strongest woman that I can possibly be, by doing the work on myself. We have to lead these young people by example. They need to see role models everywhere. And so many times they don't see it. They don't see it. So that's why it's so important for us to really show them what that looks like, what a whole, healthy woman looks like, who loves herself, who's done the work on herself. What are you saying, LaShawn? I suppressed myself because I tried to please others my whole life. Come on now. How many people can relate to LaShawn? How many people can relate to that? That's a common thing. But it's about finding your own voice, finding your own expression. And that takes some courage, and that takes some serious truth telling. So when I talk about counseling, those of you who have really experienced some deep traumas, but in a way that you fully haven't healed from that, where that it's still impacting you in the way that you're dealing with people. Maybe it's impacting your romantic relationships, wherever it is, where it is, or it's stopping you from really getting to your next level. I want to challenge you in 2020 to maximize your health insurance. Call that EAP number. Find yourself a therapist and someone that you can talk to, and be willing to sit on the couch and work it out. You gotta open it up. You'll get through it. Is it painful? Absolutely. But guess what? It's like a scab that it's going to fester, and it's going to be infected forever unless you be willing to take that scab off. And it's going to take a little alcohol, baby. Now, this going to burn a little bit. Little peroxide to get the bubbling up in there. It's not comfortable, but guess what? Then you put a little Neosporin on it. You bandage it up, and it will heal, this time properly. So much so that when you touch it, you be a year later, you touch it, it don't even hurt no more. You can't even see the scar. Oh my goodness. I remember I used to have a gaping hole over there. But look at God, I'm healed. But I didn't just get healed. I did the work. I was willing to tell the truth. I was willing to open up Pandora's box. I was willing to open up that closet and let the skeletons out and say, you know what? Enough of you. Enough. You have held me in bondage long enough. I am stronger than this situation. It's behind me now. And I'm not taking this pain. I'm not taking these thoughts and these beliefs. And I'm not taking these chains into the new year. Only you can do that work. It's called emotional intelligence. Not everybody's ready and not everybody's willing. There's so many people. What are you saying, Celeste? We must reconcile the little princess inside of us. That's right. We have to. How are you going to be a queen when your princess is sitting there? She's crying. Imagine this little girl, 6 years old. She's sitting there and she's crying and she's upset. She's not being tended to. Sometimes we go around as grown women acting like little girls because there's a little girl inside of us that needs to grow up. It's time to let her grow up. And so I want you to, here's one thing that you can do. And in the book, I actually give little journal exercises because it's not just a good read. Yes, in this book, I'm sharing a lot of my own personal experiences that I went through. And writing the book was very cathartic because I had to go in that closet and I had to drudge up a whole lot of uncomfortable emotions that I did not want to feel. But I knew that it was going to be powerful to be able to move through that, to get to the other side and to share that story because I know I'm not the only one. You don't have nothing to be ashamed of. Whatever you've been through, whatever you've done, there's someone else who's been through that, been through something worse, done something worse. And if they can move on and find joy and peace and healing, you can too. You can too. And so that's why I wrote that book. And in that, I put some journal exercises to give you not only just listen to me, but I wanted you to start to think about that for yourself. What are you going to do for you? You know what I mean? And so that's what you'll find inside of that book. And so for this particular exercise, for this week, here's a homework assignment I would like you to do. And when I go out speaking and I do keynotes and I travel and doing workshop facilitating and stuff like that in small groups, I'm able to really dig in and really create a moment where we can, as a safe space, a sister circle, where we can begin to open up these things. We do meditation and, visualizations that allow us to go there in our minds, to go to that little girl and to begin this healing work. So, but just for this week, I want you guys to write a letter to your inner child. Now, just think about what it is that you would want to say. What only you know. It's such a sacred, personal work to do. And so only you know what it is that child needs to hear, what it is that child's been through. And not everybody's ready to do it. Some people will be like, yeah, nah, I'm good. And that's fine. I respect that. Because at the end of the day, you've got to be really, really ready to heal, to get to the next place. So I want you to write this letter. I want you to write what it is that you know this child needs to hear. And then I want you to stand in the mirror. Just hear me out. I need you to stand in the mirror. Have you ever looked at yourself? We're talking about healing now. We're talking about freedom. So it ain't about finding that love in somebody else's eyes for you. It's about finding that love for yourself in your own eyes. It's looking into your own soul. This is the work that you have to do. And even if it's uncomfortable at first, do it until it's not uncomfortable anymore. But look in your own self in the eye. Connecting with your own soul, telling yourself the things that it is that you need to hear, what it is that child needs to hear. Maybe you need to say, I'm sorry. They weren't there for you. I wasn't there for you, right? I'm sorry, but you are worthy. You are beautiful. You are loved. Affirm that child, even today, even if it didn't happen back then. Tell them what it is that they need to hear. And visualize yourself picking that baby up in your arms. Can you imagine the way we all love to be held? Just a little 5-6-year-old child. And you just hold them, a crying little baby, and you just put them right on your shoulder. And you can just rock that baby, and that little baby puts their little arms around your neck, and it just feels so beautiful. And you just pat them on the back. This place of just healing and that wound that you're just working it through, and just tell that child in you what it is that you need to hear. And I know it sounds probably out of the box for a lot of people, but I'll tell you this. I've tried a lot of different things. I've opened up myself to different modalities and different ways of a lot of self-help books and different ideas of psychology, of ways to do things, so that I can get to be where I am today. So don't discount anything. It's worth a try. It's worth a try. If maybe what you've been doing is not getting you the results that you need, then be willing to do something else, even if it's quirky or uncomfortable. You'd be surprised what's on the outside of your comfort zone. There's power there. And so I've personally found comfort in that moment where I could go back to that little girl inside of me and say, baby, first of all, take your thumb out your mouth, because you're going to be buck tooth. So take your thumb out your mouth, Sandra. Little Sandra. Okay? And tell her that she's beautiful and that she's not crazy. And that she has a wonderful laugh, even if it's loud and obnoxious. It's wonderful. And you don't have to shut up. You laugh, honey. You laugh from the bottom of the pit of your soul. You express that joy that you have. Everything that I wanted to hear as a child. And I was able to give that to myself. And then I was able to give it to God. I was able to give it God because, He is the ultimate healer. And when you can trust Him with your pain, and when you can use the tools like counseling, visualization, all of those different things, you can get to the other side of whatever it is that you're carrying. And we all have baggage that we're carrying. All of us. And so it's time for us to get free so that we can really, really manifest, call those things to ourselves that we want to have in our lives because we know that we deserve it, because we've done the work on ourselves. So I want to challenge you to do that. So, if you got baggage, honey, bag lady, you can't do it that way. You gonna miss your bus. What Erykah Badu say? You can't hurry up because you got too much stuff. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be you, bag lady. Unpack that joint. Unpack it for 2020 so that we can get where it is that we're trying to go. We've got kids out here that are trying to kill themselves. The suicide rate among our young people is ridiculous. It is so warped. It is so depressing. And it's going to take people that are healthy, that are healed, that are whole, adults like us, that can be a light for them. We can't be going around here with all of our baggage, continuing with our bad behavior in our brokenness and not able to help our own children who are hurting. It's so important that we do this kind of work on ourselves so that we can figure it out, so that we can give those tools to our children so that they can be better and have the kind of quality of lives where they're not suffering with anxiety and depression all the daggone time, right? So it's time to heal those things. Leave it there so that we can move into a future. Iyanla Vanzant has a very wonderful quote that says, if you don't heal the wounds of your past, they will bleed into your future. If you don't heal the wounds of your past, they will bleed into your future. And I'm just going to leave that right there because you know what it is. This message may not be for everybody, and that's okay. But I know that there are some people that need to hear this, that you're ready, that you're still bleeding, and it's time for you to clean it up. And that's one way that I know that I've been able to do that, healing my inner child, starting with you. Okay? So here's an ask. I have one ask for you. I talked a lot about the alopecia experience. I want to do something really special for next week for my time at 9. I would like for you, hey cuz, I love you too. I love you too. Tara, I love you cuz. Here's what I'd like you to do. I know you know some women that are dealing with hair loss, whether it is through chemotherapy, whether it is, alopecia, or they wear them braids too tight, whatever it is, that need to hear an encouraging word, that are struggling through that experience. I want you to invite them to my time at 9 for next week, Sunday. I want you to just tell them, hey, you need to hear this girl talking, because next week I'm going to be talking about how to love the skin that you're in. Now, that's not just a message for women who are dealing with hair loss. I'm going to talk specifically about some of the nuances of living with hair loss that we go through. However, the messaging of itself, everybody's got, whether it's your weight that you're struggling with, and I know a lot of us going to be starting our diet in January, trying to lose them pounds and all that good stuff. But everybody's got different things that, that prohibit you from really loving the skin that you are in. And I have some tools that I'd like to be able to share with you about that part, that piece of the pie. How can we all love, accept ourselves, and love the skin that we are in? All of us. So for those women that who are challenged, please invite them. This one's going to be special because that's my heart. It's still it's such a personal and such a deeply it's a very challenging experience to go through. And women who are dealing with it, they need support. They need support from people who know what it is to feel that way, and have come over to the other side. And I want to be able to share my experience and what I've learned and the tools that I know that will help them feel good about themselves and be able to still experience freedom in their lives. That doesn't mean they have to go outside bald. You can rock your wig still. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, when you look yourself in the mirror, you need to love the woman that you see. And that's for all of us. So I ask you if you would please just go ahead and let them know. My time at 9 next week. And so if you're interested, oh, by the way, in getting the book, it is on Amazon. And if you're like me, I love Audible. I listen to books with Audible all the time. You suffer with alopecia. Wow. Okay, so come next week. I'm going to be talking to you, LaShawn. Bring your friends. Tell all your sisters with alopecia to join us next week. But what I did was I narrated the book. So if you go to Amazon.com, if you're about Audible and listening to audiobooks, you can also download it and hear me narrate it for you. So that's a really cool thing. So are there any, before we wrap up, because I don't want to hold you guys too long. I know it's a Sunday night, so I'm just so really grateful for everybody who thought enough to stay and just listen to me tonight, and I hope that you were able to get something that gave you some food for thought. Are there any questions? Do you have any comments or anything like that? So I'll just stay right here and I'll just wait if anybody has anything that they want to share. And so, yeah, so I'm excited about next week, as I'm waiting for you guys to chime in if there's anything. Because it's going to be really, really powerful. Especially, there's so many things about the hair loss experience that people don't even think about, just how that affects you. I want to talk about, being single and being bald. Come on now. Now that's a conversation. How you manage it, even within a relationship, the insecurity that you feel. As a woman who's bald, is he still going to love me? Is he still going to be attracted to me? How do you manage being bald while you're at work? Do you wear your wig to work to make everybody else feel comfortable? Do you go as yourself? Like, there's so many different aspects to the experience that only if you've gone through it would you really know the little nuances of how to work it out. And so that's why I'm really excited to have a forum where women can get some insight on some of those questions that I know that they deal with in their lives. So if there are no questions, I just want you to know that I really do appreciate your time. I love you. I'm the Bald Beauty Queen of Self-Esteem. Thank you for taking this time to spend with me. And I will see you next week.